Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. Myself Seema Tambe, and today is a class 10th topic, which is a corrosion of metal and rancidity. Okay, so metals, what is basically corrosion is I'm going to explain you now. So what is metal? Metals like what? Iron, then silver, then copper. These are what? Metals. Metals, whenever they are new, they are like what? Shiny. Okay, they are so, but when it comes in contact with air or moisture, okay, what? Whenever these metals are new, okay, they are basically shiny. Okay, but whenever you're keeping these metals, okay, at a room temperature, okay, whenever you're keeping at a room temperature, what happens? It comes in contact with air, then moisture and acid. Okay, so what happens basically when this metals comes in contact with air, moisture and acid? So is what we are going to see. Okay, so what is it? That it's a corrosion of metal. So what is corrosion of metal? We'll see now. First thing is what? Like metals. There are metals like what? Metals like iron. We are basically going to talk about iron, copper and silver. Okay, so metals like what? Iron, copper and silver, whenever they are new, you know guys, they are basically shining. Okay, they are shining, but whenever these metals like iron, copper and silver comes in contact with, or whenever you're keeping it at room temperature, it comes in contact with what? Air, moisture, acid. So what happens when metals like what? Iron, copper, silver comes or attacked by substances, okay, comes in contact or attacked by substance like what? Air, moisture, acid, you know what happens? It tend to get spoiled. Okay, whenever this metal comes in contact with what? Air, moisture and acid, it tend to get spoiled. Okay, and this spoil term in our chemistry is called as corrode. Okay, what I said, in the spoil of metal in chemistry term is called as corrode. Okay, so when metals comes in contact with air, moisture, acid, it tends to get what? It tends to get spoil, or in chemistry we call it as what? Corrode. The metal gets corrode. Okay, again we'll see metals like what? Iron, copper, silver, whenever it is like new, it's shiny, it's bright. Okay, so but when it comes in contact with, or whenever you're keeping it at room temperature, it comes in contact with what? Air, then water. Moisture is basically what? Water, acid. What happens? It tends to get spoiled, or it tends to get corrode. Okay, and this whole process is basically, you know, very slow. It is not like you are going to keep it today and tomorrow it's getting corrode. No, it's a slow process. So this process, whole process is called as what? Corrosion. This process is called corrosion. Okay, this process is what? Called corrosion of metal. Okay, now what basically, you know, there is examples of this corrosion. So examples of this corrosion is what? Rusting of iron. Then there is, if you're talking about silver, then there is, you know, example is what? Rusting of iron. Silver, if you're talking about silver, then there is a black coating which, you know, get on silver. Then you can say that silver is getting corroded. Then there is a green coating which forms on the copper. Then you say that the copper is getting corroded. Now here we are talking about, we are going to talk about rusting of iron. What is rusting of iron? It's an example of corrosion. So how rusting of iron takes place is what we are going to talk. So example, it's an example of what? Corrosion. So rusting of iron. Okay, iron is what? Metal. So when iron, same you can write, what you can write is iron when new, it's shiny. Okay, iron when new, it's shiny. But iron when comes in contact with air and moisture both. Okay, you need to mention this both, because without this both, this corrosion is off free, or you can say the rusting of iron is not going to take place. The rusting of iron will only takes place when air and moisture is combining, or air and moisture is needed basically for rusting of iron. So iron when it comes in contact with air, moisture both. Okay, what happens? There is a reddish brown coating on iron. Okay, what happens? There is a reddish brown coating on iron. Example. Okay, what rusting of iron is? Iron when comes in contact with air and moisture both, what happens? There is reddish brown coating on that iron. There is a reddish brown coating on iron. What? There is a reddish brown coating of iron. This coating is called as what? Rust. This reddish brown coating is called as what? Rust. Okay, and this whole process is called as, rusting. Okay, we'll see it again. Corrosion of metal is what we seen, and this is example of that corrosion of metal. So rusting of iron. Iron when comes in contact with air, moisture both, what happens? There is a reddish brown coating on iron. This reddish brown coating is called as rust, and the process is called as rusting. Okay, so this is all about rusting of iron. If you get in your exam, you can write this off. Okay. And now what happens because of this corrosion of metal? What are the causes of corrosion? What happens because of this corrosion? So if you travel by train, you can see the rail, so that basically gets corroded because of this corrosion. Okay, so what are the causes of corrosion? It causes damage to what? Car bodies. Even car, there is a damage to car bodies. Then damage to iron bridges. Okay, so these bridges which are there, it's basically of iron. So there is then damage to the rail, then ships. Okay, so these are the causes of corrosion. Like the corrosion of metal is taking place same way. How basically corrosion of metal means what? When metal comes in contact with air and moisture. Same way when food, if you are keeping it long at a room temperature, it is also getting in contact with air and moisture, it is also getting spoiled. Same reaction is basically taking place. Same reaction in the sense basically oxygen is getting into it. Okay, just like we have seen, corrosion of metal means what? When metal comes in contact with air, moisture, it tend to get spoiled or it tend to get corroded. Same way when our food which we are keeping at a room temperature, okay, for a long time, it also reacts with oxygen in air, okay, and oxidation starts taking place there as well, and it tends to get spoiled. Okay, same phenomena, only the name is different. So what is rancidity? Okay, What is rancidity? When fats and oil, okay, so whatever food we have, okay, whatever our mummies make, okay, so it basically contains oil. Everything is basically made out of oil, fats, okay. So when fats and oil, okay, so what I mean is food basically contains what? Fats and oil, okay. So when fats and oil, okay, if you're keeping it long at a room temperature, okay, fats and oil, if you're keeping it at a room temperature for longer time, I write it down. When fats and oil, if fats and oil are kept at room temperature for long period, okay, what happens? This fats and oil starts getting oxidized, or oxidation start taking place. Okay, oxidation starts taking place. What? When fats and oil are kept at a room temperature for longer time, what happens? This fats and oil comes in contact with what? Oxygen. This fats and oil, or you can say this fats and oily food, comes in contact with oxygen and oxidation starts taking place. Okay, and whenever in anything oxidation start taking place, that is whenever anything reacting with oxygen, means that food is going to get spoiled. Okay, so fats, oil, whenever it reacts with oxygen, that is when you're keeping it for a long temperature, it's the oxidation starts taking place. Okay, and it, you know, the smell and taste of food changes. Okay, what I said, when fats and oil food, whenever you're keeping it at a long temperature, okay, whenever you're keeping at a room temperature, what happens? It reacts with oxygen in air, and what happens? Oxidation start taking place. Okay, and whenever oxygen start taking place, that means, you know, that food, okay, that food products, you know, starts changing smell. Okay, it gives you foul smell or dirty smell. Okay, and also obviously whenever it is giving you bad smell, that means that food is getting spoiled. The taste also is going to change. Okay, so that means this spoilage of food, okay, that means this food has got spoiled. This food has got spoiled. That means this spoilage of food in terms of chemistry is called as rancidity. Okay, so there is spoilage of food. So this spoilage of food is called as a rancidity. Okay, that means food has got spoiled, or you can say the food has got rancid. Okay, we'll see it again. What is rancidity? When fats and oily food, if you are keeping it at a room temperature for a longer time, what happens? This fats and oil reacts with oxygen and oxidation start taking place, because of which smell, taste of food changes and the food getting spoiled. This spoilage of food is called as what? Rancidity. Okay, this spoilage of food is called as rancidity. Okay, Now, okay, now this food is getting spoiled. Fine, hence we are keeping it for in what? Refrigerator. Okay. Also, there is a prevention. You know, we can prevent this rancidity to some days. So, what is the prevention of rancidity? How you can prevent rancidity? Prevention of rancidity or prevention of spoilage. How can you do that? Okay, how can you just prevent this rancidity of food? By keeping this chips. Okay, this chips, whatever we have, it basically it's what? It's oil. Okay, so this chips are hence kept by flushing nitrogen gas into it. Okay, so if you're taking that chips packet and you're opening it, you know that it's a gas which you can smell. Okay, so this, in order to prevent rancidity, these chips are basically flushed with nitrogen gas, because of which you know that the food inside the packet or the chips inside it remain for a longer period of time. Okay, so in order to avoid rancidity, these chips are flushed with nitrogen gas. Okay, second thing, this food, okay, food is kept in airtight container. Okay, how you can prevent food from getting spoiled or from getting rancid is by keeping this is by flushing nitrogen gas into that chips packet, and second, by keeping this food in an airtight container so that the food won't come in contact with air. Okay, understood? So what we have seen today is corrosion of metal and rancidity of food. Both are what? It's a spoilage. Okay, but as it is in a chemistry term, it is called as corrosion of metal and rancidity of food. Okay, that's it for the day. If you like my video, please do like, share and subscribe. Thank you.